there will be lunch over there for you. And I think you might have gotten an email there. It's going to be an open viewing period later today. And that information, if it's not already to you, will be coming. Okay.
Appreciate it, Claude. First, I want to thank the fans again for an incredible job. I know there's been a lot of stuff on social media. They did an awesome job last weekend. Can't thank them enough. Wouldn't expect anything less from our fan base. We've moved on yesterday morning. You know, we had some recruits in town and pushed on to the focus on Auburn, who did a tremendous job to go on the road, which is very difficult in our conference to do, and go to Baton Rouge and get a win, which is really hard to do. So excited to move on to these guys. I think Coach Harsin does a great job. He's got a really good staff. Those kids have bought in to their staff. Done a tremendous job. They've got one loss from a top 10 team on the road. And other than that, they played really good football. And that game was really tough and physical. And that was a tough environment to go into. We know our guys are getting ready to go into a very tough environment, which playing at Auburn is probably one of the toughest places to play in the SEC. Their crowd and fan base does a tremendous job with those elements, and it'll be key for our guys to keep calm in the storm, keep their composure, and play our best football against what I think is a very talented Auburn football team.
Coach, as far as Mike Bobo, I know you have some questions about him. As far as what they're doing offensively, is this a typical Mike Bobo offense from what you're seeing from Auburn right now?
A lot of similarities to the things I see. Obviously, Mike has done a tremendous job in our conference and his career of taking his best players and finding ways to highlight their positives. I think he's done that with this unit. You know, he's got a couple really good backs, and he's got a quarterback that's got a lot of experience. And I think, you know, them playing Finley late in the Georgia State game gave him a lot of confidence where both quarterbacks can play. I thought Bo played a tremendous game against LSU. He's a tremendous athlete. He's got great feet. Both quarterbacks are elusive and athletic in their own rights. I think Mike's done a really good job. I don't know how much of it's him, how much of it's Harson's. That's not really what's important. To me, it's like you see traits of physicality. They can run the ball. They've got good backs, and they do a good job of getting the ball to their playmakers.
Obviously, running back depth is not a new thing here, but it jumps out that through 5 games, you've already got 5 backs with 20 or more carries. Did you have any hesitation at all entering this season as you watch this develop that in your ability to demonstrate to distribute carries among as many backs as that?
Nope. I feel good about our backs. I think we've got good depth there. I got a lot of trust in all those guys, including Dejon. He does a tremendous job. He gets to work sometimes against our defense and sometimes with our offense. But I got a lot of trust and faith in all 5 of those guys. And I think Dale's done a tremendous job keeping those guys balanced, keeping them fresh. We've been able to avoid most significant injuries with outside of Kendall's and Zamir's being banged up some of the time. Those guys have done a good job staying healthy.
Kirby, you talked about moving on to the next opponent. Over your years of being a head coach, have you found there to be a formula that works best for getting everybody to move on to the next opponent, particularly after a big emotional win?
No formula. I mean, it's our work week, right? No different than you guys have a ritual and routine you go through. We have a ritual and routine we go through where we come in Sunday and do our work, and coaches are moved on as early as Sunday a.m., Saturday night even when you play an early game, because you get to watch the opponent on TV when you play the early game, and you grade your tape. So that game was put to bed by about Saturday at 7 or 8 o'clock and on to the next. As far as the players, I think for them, psychologically, moving on probably happens, today. And they come over and we do corrections and clean things up. But a big part of today is introducing Auburn. So it's never been a secret recipe or formula. It's what we do on Mondays to move on.
Kirby, I wanted to ask you, obviously you guys talk about playing to the standard and all that kind of stuff all the time. Is that something that you developed maybe once you got here? Is that something you learned from Coach Saban in Alabama, maybe earlier than that? Just sort of where does that I guess, idea, come from for y'all?
I don't really know where it comes from. It's what you have to do to be successful, right? I mean, it doesn't matter what line of work you're in, what career field you're in. To be successful, you can't do it to the level of your opponent or your opportunity. You got to do it to the standard of excellence. And that's true in every business facet of the world, every competition facet of the world. There's a standard of excellence you should go to and compete for, and we strive for that. We don't always reach it, and we certainly had some practices that weren't to the standard that I'd like for them to be. But these kids have responded to the challenges they've had and the ones we've asked them to do.
Don't worry, I'll have a quarterback question later. But defense,
I was real nervous.
y'all are I know it's just 5 games, but y'all are kind of in rarefied air in terms of what's going on right now. What is the culture among the players on this defense as far as how confident are you that they're not going to read their press clippings? They're going to be mature about this.
Well, they're definitely going to read them. I mean, there's no stopping what they see on their phones. So that's not, they're going to read that. Is it going to affect them? Is it going to poison them? I hope not. I certainly hope not. I think the standard of being elite is what keeps them from becoming poisoned. And when you compare yourself against greatness, there's a certain standard you have to reach, and it kind of supersedes the opponent. And when you say, I want to be great, and what does great look like, and you see pictures of that, and you see stats that reflect that, that's what you're trying to emulate, and you're not trying to make it about who you're playing. And it's always about who you're playing because you have to talk about their personnel and what they do. But the buy-in from this group has been good, the cohesion, and like I said, like, who's the superstar? I don't think you could name one superstar really on this whole team. So when you have that, you have a lot of guys that buy in. I think personalities outside of our world and our family want there to be a superstar, want there to be one person, but there's not on this team because it's done by committee across the board, special teams, defense and offense. It's done by a lot of guys that are connected and care about each other.
Kirby, I got a 2-part question. What is the plan or approach with JT in practice this week? And secondly, Stetson kind of indicated the other day that he was thinking about, possibly going elsewhere again after last season. Did you have discussions or Coach Monken about why he might want to stay here?
No, I know he's frustrated. He was more frustrated with his reps and his volume of reps. And for him, it was more about, competition, getting opportunities. I mean, it wasn't necessarily about one's reps. It was about him getting two's reps because he wasn't getting a lot of those. But the way we practice, he was able to get work in, probably not as much as he likes. And as far as JT, he's not going to do anything today. He'll be out. He's practicing. He's doing everything but throwing. And then we'll see how it goes, day to day. I mean, the biggest thing is he's got to rest and recover and try to heal. So we're very hopeful that he'll be able to go Tuesday, Wednesday, and be able to throw, and like he was able to do last week some days. But he's not going to do much today in terms of throwing. But there's a lot more to quarterback than just throwing the ball. And he does a lot of that stuff well, and he'll still do all those things today.
Kirby, can you speak on the development of Bo Nix? You've seen him a couple times already, and his ability to extend plays.
Yeah, his ability to extend plays is elite. I mean, the play he had last week is basically all you need to show for the scouting report, to do what he did against a really good SEC defense with a lot of tremendous athletes on it, to avoid and escape and keep your eyes downfield. It puts a lot of pressure on the defense to be able to cover people that long. And I've seen him now, it seems like forever. He's been there, and we've gone against him, I guess, twice. And this is the third or fourth time we've gone against him. I can't even remember. Third? Yeah, and it seems like he's been there forever. But really good athlete, comes from a coaching family background, known his dad for a long time, and got a lot of respect for him as a competitor and leader. And I think he's gotten a lot better. He's doing a much better job keeping his eyes downfield and making decisions.
Kirby, your team obviously plays a little bit of swagger defensively. Offensively, your offensive line was able to get some push on the ball. Do you feel like they've started to develop some of that swagger to them as well and have a little bit more confidence, especially after the game over the weekend?
I think it meant a lot to them. There's a lot of pride in offensive linemen as a whole, and the pride is not usually how well do I pass pro, which they've done a good job of. It's usually how well do we run the ball, and for some reason the measurement of offensive line is off of that. When a lot of times they don't control that. Like, that's not within their control how many people put on the front. If you watch college football today and you really do your homework and you actually study it and count it, like I know you guys are really smart defensive coaches. If you count the number of people that are at the defensive line, it'll tell you maybe how you should play them. And then when you watch teams across our league that play teams with 6 and 7 DBs on the field, it allows you to have an opportunity to do things differently than maybe you would if they have 5 defensive linemen across the front. And I think that's part of being a good coach. And our offensive line took a lot of pride in getting an opportunity to show that identity, to show that they can play bully ball if they have to. But still boils down to a lot of times what the defense is giving you.
Kirby, after the game, you said that with Darnell, it was kind of up to how he felt and if he was comfortable enough to go. Was that the same case with Tyke, and was he not comfortable enough to go? And then I guess also injury update on Arian and Marcus.
Yes, Tyke, no, he was not in the same boat. He was not able to go as much as, I mean, you got to practice to play. One thing we don't do here is when you don't practice, you can't play. So Tyke was at practice, and he tried to go in practice. It's tougher on him with the movements he has to have. He's reacting to movement as opposed to going in a direction, so it's different for him. And he'll be the first to tell you he's not 100%, but he'll be the first to tell you he's trying his hardest to get back and pushing through. So we'll continue to work with him to be able to do that, and hopefully he'll be able to go. As far as those other guys, we're hopeful. Dom's has been a hamstring. It's been a nagging hamstring. He's going to warm up, loosen up today early, and then hopefully be able to get some reps. But whether he's 100% or not, I don't know. Arian the same way, and then Marcus Rosen the same way. They're all three much closer this week than they were last week, but none of them are for definite in.
Coach, I did my research on the grade 1 lat sprain, on Sunday, so I know how long it takes to have a player to recover. My question was, you said that.
Well, tell me, how long does it take for one to recover?
Well, what I understand is 2 to 3 weeks. So is that pretty much on?
Well, considering he's had it for, a week and a half, because it's really how long it's been diagnosed and also how extreme. Because there's one plus. Ask Ron, he can give you 2-hour dissertation on it, and I've heard them all. But go ahead.
Yeah. But my question was, you said that Ron had talked, I think, Dallas, maybe some other teams about treatment and stuff. Was there anything they learned about maybe an aggressive treatment or something like this? Or is it just, again, one of those deals where rest is going to be the best medicine for him?
Well, there is in everything in the medical field. There's these people that think they can fix it really fast, but that's not necessarily the case. And I know it wasn't the case in Dax. And Dak was much more extreme than what JT's going through. And we did some more scans on JT's just to confirm what we thought it was and what we thought it was all along. We did scans even after Vanderbilt. So it is what it is. And I think it's going to be a time thing. And it's really, number one, pain tolerance. Number two, can you get it to heal so that it's not a nagging, reoccurring long-term injury? And, it's unfortunate because it's a tough injury.
Hey, Kirby. So you've said it yourself that the defense has had elite performances, but you guys want to be just elite. What are some things you think that your defense can maybe do better that no one's talking about?
Well, one thing, we can force turnovers. We didn't force any turnovers, and that's what elite defenses do. So we were not elite in that category. The other thing is play tempo and continue to work on it. We spend more time all week on our weaknesses and less time really on what our opponents do sometimes, because we know, what's coming down the road. We also know to be elite, you got to be able to tackle well, especially in space. We didn't do that on Saturday. We had some really, really bad tackling situations, run after contact. So we basically take the things we do the weakest and we continue to work really hard on those so that we can be better prepared.
Taking a look at your schedule today, this could change. You guys have 4 straight ranked opponents, starting back with Arkansas. I looked since you've been here. I think that's only happened once for you guys. And I believe that was 2019, starting with LSU. Do you remember anything about that stretch, or can you just talk about how difficult it is to do like 4 games in a row like that, having to get up every single week? I mean, obviously you do no matter what. It's the SEC, but still.
I agree with your later statement. There is no week off in our conference. So, those teams could be higher ranked by the time they play them. They could be lower ranked, but they're going to be the same team regardless of what they're ranked. And they're really good SEC teams. And I think it's more about like how do you write the chapters in your book where all the chapters are good chapters. You know what I mean? So we're trying to write a really good book, and we don't want a bad chapter in our book. So we're trying to write each individual chapter like it has a history and life of its own. And you do that by focusing on what's present now. And that's right now for us is Auburn.
That's a good analogy, Coach. I want to ask you on offense, what's creating or what is stopping you from being elite? I know that you, like you said, you kind of attack the weaknesses rather than harp on the great things. What did you see on offense that needs to be improved?
It's different every week, right? It depends a lot on what they do and what we're able to do. One of our big Achilles heels has been perimeter blocking. I thought our guys gave much better effort in forms of perimeter blocking so that we can be explosive in not only the run game, but also in the perimeter throw game. We've had times we were elite throwing the ball down the field, which are never going to be 100%, but we haven't done it consistently. And I would argue that the only thing stopping us from being that on offense is ourselves. And how can we create enough depth? If you said the one thing that worries you and it's beyond anybody's control is depth at wide out. And it's just I've never been where you had 6, maybe 7 healthy receivers and you're playing 3 receivers down. So that part is not anybody's job to be elite more than getting guys healthy.
Hey Kirby, through 5 games this season, how has Coach Adai been getting to work with the DBs in his first season, getting used to this defense from West Virginia?
Done a great job. He's got a great rapport with the players, a lot of energy on the field. I think the players respect his point of view, his ability to help them. He's also morphed into our defense and absorbed a lot of information. And we have a lot of history when you walk in a room with Dan Lanning, Schumann, and myself and Trey Scott, who've been together for a long time. You can the conversation can go really fast. And he's very intelligent, and he picks up on that, and he's been able to help us with things he's done in his past and secondary.
Kirby, obviously, Bo Nix has some great escapability in terms of his scrambling ability. How much freedom or direction do you give Stetson in terms of scrambling out of trouble?
Yeah, the scrambling. Every offense has a scramble plan, so it's a lot more calculated than you might think. I mean, every offense, I guarantee you, Bobo, all the way through Monken, through everybody in the country, they have a scramble plan because it's going to happen regardless of who your quarterback is. It happens. So you go through those steps. What is your job? What is your job? What is your job? And you explain it. But it's not something that you control or manipulate. I mean, it just naturally happens. So with Stetson, it's not like we're telling him, ooh, don't scramble or ooh, take off. It's an instinctive trait that some people do better than others. And, some people are better athletes than others. They can extend plays and put a lot of stress on people. So both those guys are good athletes.
Kirby, along the lines of your assessment of both the defense and offense, special teams, can you speak on the utmost importance of on the road special teams, the importance? Obviously, last time you were in Auburn, your punting sort of turned that game. But and then what's your assessment of the last game and the season as a whole for special teams?
Yeah, special teams are critical on the road because usually that's a momentum play, we call them. So if you're trying to get the crowd out of it, you need a momentum play. And if you don't, then you're going to bring the crowd right back into it. So dominating special teams sometimes controls the momentum of the crowd. That's important on the road anytime. There's no bigger play than, having a kickoff return on the road because they just scored on you. And that's important that you gain field position back. As far as our guys, I've loved the effort and energy of our units. We haven't always played with the most intelligence in terms of undisciplined penalties and penalties. I'm very frustrated with that side of it, but I'd much rather have the penalties fighting and trying than not being in position to make those blocks. And we got to do a better job of not shooting ourselves in the foot with penalties.
Two more questions.
Kirby, can I get your thoughts on first Julian Rochester, but secondly Devontae Wyatt? He misses a game, but then was just named the SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week. Give me your thoughts on both of those guys.
Yeah, Julian's back out practicing with us. He's been down on the scout team getting work, trying to get confidence in his knee and feel good about it. Hopeful that he's able to contribute and help us. It's really tough at this point, as far down the road as we are, but he's a battler. He's a great kid, and he didn't gripe one bit about trying to get confidence. And he actually one of the guys that gave a great look of Arkansas's defensive line last week. And then Devontae, just one of his better performances. He's worked so hard in the offseason to trim weight. He's slimmed down. He's much more athletic, and just excited to see him get that opportunity last week.
Kirby, what was the story behind D-Rob's transfer after the spring, and what have you seen from him so far this season?
No real story. I mean, he wanted an opportunity to get more reps. He wanted an opportunity to play more, and felt like the opportunity was probably better there than it was here. And we didn't want to see D-Rob go. I've always thought a lot of D-Rob, and he'd gotten better and better. And the situation we're in now is because some guys decided to leave. That's why we're so thin, along with injuries. But I've wished D-Rob nothing but the best. Great young man. Respect him a lot, and he's been able to make a lot of good plays for them, a lot of big plays. Mike does a great job of using the skill set of the player that he has, and D-Rob's been able to make a lot of plays for them because of that.